Okay, class, let's talk for a moment about operational definitions. This is a concept that you as a researcher will have to be able to understand in order to be successful as a student or maybe later as a researcher that wants to become published. I think this is really a simple concept that we make overly complicated by overthinking it. One website says, an operational definition defines something in terms of the specific process or set of validation tests used to determine its presence and quantity. Another website says that an operational definition identifies one or more specific observable events or conditions such that any other researcher can independently measure and or test for them. Now, while both of these definitions are technically correct, I think that's a very complicated way of looking at it. And I want you to look at an operational definition like it's simply how you define the term for your study. So the key concept here is you. What does your study define that term as? Okay. The second piece is it's something that you can measure. Okay, so if your study involves the attractiveness of a group of people, well then someone else who's replicating that study will need to know what you meant when you said an attractive person or an unattractive person. That's something that could be very subjective. So you would have to come up with an operational definition where you are actually defining what you mean by that for your study. How can you measure that? How can someone else take your study and replicate it using the same exact conditions that you use? There are very many of these out here. Some are very easy, like maybe defining overweight for your study. And it may be very easy to say, okay, well, we're going to define overweight as a person whose body mass index is 30 or higher. Okay, but then there's some that are maybe not so clear-cut, not so simple. What if your study involves the participants' level of happiness? Well, how do you define happy? When I say happy and when you say happy, we might mean two different things. One example that I often use is exercise. A lot of studies in psychology look at exercise and depression or exercise and stress levels. But when I use the word exercise, I might mean that participants in my study will run for 20 minutes a day, 3 days a week, for 6 weeks at an average speed between 2 and 4 miles per hour. You, on the other hand, if you were to do a study involving exercise, you may think that exercise involves lifting weights for 60 minutes a day, 5 days a week, for a year. Now, if me and you were to do the same study, and I used my definition of exercise, and you used your definition of exercise, do you think that we would have the same results? Maybe, maybe not. But the bottom line is, if someone cannot match your study, if someone cannot replicate your study and have the same outcomes, then that means that your study is not valid. A study can be replicable, meaning other people could get the same results and not be valid, but there's no way for a study to be valid if it's not replicable. If someone else cannot take your study and do the same thing with it that you did, then there's no way that you're measuring what you think that you're measuring. This is why it's so important for you to operationally define what you mean by the terms that are used in your study. So again, the number one thing is it's individual. It's you, your study. How are you defining the term? Okay? And most importantly is that it is measurable, it is quantifiable, it is, the term is defined in a way that anyone could measure it and get the same results that you get. Okay, so that's just a real quick overview of what an operational definition is. And if you have any questions about that concept, please, please, please let me know. I will walk you through it. I can talk to you over the phone. I can talk to you on Skype. You can text me. And of course, at all times, you can always email me. So just let me know. Thank you so much for listening.